नमस्कार दोस्तों। अगर हम ये चीज़ नोटिस करते हैं कि हमारे आसपास जो एयर ट्रैफिक है या फिर जो हमारा एयर नेविगेशन है, चाहे वो प्राइवेट एयरलाइन हो, कमर्शियल एयरलाइन हो या फिर किसी भी तरीके का वीवीआईपी एयर पैसेज हो या फिर मेडिकल एयर पैसेज हो, क्रिटिकलिटी पिछले कुछ समय में काफ़ी ज़्यादा देखने को मिल रही है, क्योंकि जो सर्कमस्टांसेस क्रिएट हुए हैं वो ना ही डीजीसीए की गाइडलाइन को फॉलो कर रहे हैं और ना ही इंटरनेशनल रडार सिस्टम जो हमारा गवर्न करता है एयरलाइन नेविगेशन, वो फॉलो हो रही हैं। क्योंकि अगर ये सारी चीज़ें होती तो कहीं ना कहीं हम इस एयर ट्रैफिक को, एयर एक्सीडेंट्स को नेविगेट कर पाते और साथ ही साथ समय रहते मिटिगेशन स्ट्रेटजी भी प्लान करते, बिकॉज मोर और लेस इट इज़ in the hand of us as a human to prevent these mishaps. We will discuss about the same in this video. Keep watching.
Okay, so discussing onto the major recent air traffic's mismanagement and air accidents which were in the place, sadly, in the recent 2025 and 2026. First of all, making the beginning with the biggest of all, which was the Air India Boeing flight 787 171, which was Boeing 787 flight 171, crashed in India with preliminary reports indicating a potential loss of thrust in both engines due to the premature fuel cutoff switches, making it a major recent and deadly accident. Because more or less not only the fault of the pilot or co-pilot, it was the basic technical fault that has to be mitigated in any possible way. The Air India Boeing 787 flight 171 crashed, which was just few seconds after the flight took off from the runway. The major due negligence, I'll say due negligence without any due diligence, because if you're flying an aircraft, the chance of any mistake is like not at all possible. Nobody can expect it. Even though if you're riding a bike or a four-wheeler on a road, it is very rare that you collide with someone every time you go out and drive. Similarly, if it is a instance for an aviation industry, it is like maybe 1 out of 10,000, 1 out of 15,000 flights. That might even like a very minor of it, but fatalities and life-threatening accidents is not at all like cannot be pondered about. But this happened. Government of India, Ministry of Aviation, the aircraft management team, the airline, the manufacturer Boeing, at present none of them has come upfrontly to take the charge for the mishap. The lives that were lost, their dependents are still expecting for better relief to the departed soul. Secondly, the Indian Air Ambulance crash that happened recently in the February, carrying almost 7 people who all died. The aircraft flew from Ranchi to Delhi with more than partially burned patient who was being carried to Delhi for better health service. I don't know the aircraft, the carrier or anything that was involved into it, but Again, at the end, the conclusion is all of them lost their lives. This again, the proper check has to happen in reality, not just on the paper. Even tire pressure is as important as it is for a life to be saved. While you are 30 to 35,000 feet at a height, you have no second chance to escape. So everything has to be decided from the earth itself. Boeing 787 was landed, grounded, and not permitted to fly a decade ago in many aviation market. Indian market was still using it. Air India was using it as the maximum of its career. It was just because of the running benefit out of the passenger crowd that was traveling through it, the number of passengers that can travel. Thirdly, Shri late Ajit Pawarji, the plane crash, the private plane crash in Maharashtra killed politician Ajit Pawar and four others. Four others notably were the all in all of the aircraft which was carrying Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Just skidding off the runway. I think this was also not at all expected, neither ready to be heard out. These all accidents are out of everybody's mind because nobody can even think at a single instance that this can happen. Because if we are choosing airways, it is just to decrease the travel time that has to be taken on. But if the chance of risk and the chance of not flying from one place to another with ease is considered, where there is much chance of getting into accident and fatality, I think this whole part will not be considered yet again. Let's see what the other background for the aviation makes it clear, because more or less it is not at all accepted because it is killing somebody's life, killing someone in some or the other way. Next comes, there are various light aircraft crashes which has happened in US and UK, including a Piper PA-18 in Maine and a Vance RV-8 in Texas, often attributed to pilot error or technical issues, according to the FAA statements and BBC reports. The Colombian plane crash, which happened in Jan 2026, private plane crash of Satana airline, killing all 15 on board. These all aviation accident and incidents are like people living nearby the industry might also think that they are not going through something very fruitful, because they basically know what circumstances are leading for the same. The pilot is in extreme pressure. The shift is rotational, but he is not able to even take a sleep of 4 hours, 5 hours. The roster for the day is planned 24 hours before, knowing that the next 2 days you are currently occupied with a sector of Delhi, Calcutta, Bangalore, Delhi, Calcutta, Bangalore, and maybe somewhere else. Then it is like Delhi, Calcutta, Kuala Lumpur. Then you have a layover there. Then again you come back. So you don't get time to even think of sleeping. Again, it is with the cabin crew, because they are also the backbone and support system for the pilot and the co-pilot. So if the proper guideline to the same is not issued, if the pilot and co-pilot has to be blamed at the end of the day, that it was the pilot error that led the premature fuel cutoff, which was in Boeing 787 flight 171, then pilot is responsible. Then pilot has to be taken care. There has to be so many checks for pilot. Because at the end, if you are blaming pilot who is no more there, he has laid his life in the crash, so you are easily escaping yourself from the court. Neither the industry, the aviation industry, will be questioned, or the maker of the planes. The only one who will be questioned is the pilot, and he is no more to go through it. So this has to be stopped. A critical scenario for the pilot as well as the aviation companies has to be created, where the guideline and checklist has to be on a hourly basis. I repeat, the guideline and checklist has to be on an hourly basis, and not only on the paper but in reality too. The fuel cutoff, the navigation, the radars, the else everything, the runway part, these all things has to be maturely studied, and if any prerequisite change to it is required, it has to be considered similar way, because the life lost in air is never revived on earth, because nobody can see it, nobody can feel it, nobody knows what actually happened. The only black box and all other thing cannot actually decode the real existence of the human who were involved in the mishap. Now we'll talk about the various very basic things that are considered while scrutinizing the air mishaps. Firstly, it is flight data recorder, which logs the critical parameter like speed, altitude, and engine performance, the runway, the length of the runway that was taken for the takeoff, and how long the flight stayed on the runway before it just flew. Cockpit voice recorder, which records the crew conversation and audio, crucial for understanding the human factors, the tension around the cockpit and the conversation that was happening. Again, it is emergency locator transmitter, ELT, a beacon that sends signal to search and rescue team upon impact. That has to be considered, and a thorough check for the same has to happen. Automatic dependent surveillance broadcast, which provides a real-time trafficking, engine components for the mechanical failure due to wear maintenance, structural components, analysis of debris and wreckage to determine in-flight breakage. Because see, these all are the post-accidental part. This has to be mitigated, and this has to be considered in a way that this situation does not arise, that we get into the debris collection. We have to stop it in any or the other way. If there is a load burden on the air network, air passage, we have to increase the flight. If there is a burden on the captain or a crew, we have to increase the opportunities for the newcomers. No if, no but, because if at all we procrastinate the services for the customer on a technical aspect, we are playing with the lives of the customer. And life is very important on the part and parcel of the aviation industry, where the candidates who are captain or the cabin crew, they spend good amount of money for the education, and then there is a dream to be a pilot, and if it has to be there, then it has to be taken away also in a positive attitude, where caring for each other, caring for life, and caring for the whole aviation fraternity should be the priority, rather than just making money out of it. Jai Hind.